really, really, really something to witness, and all of the dynamics and underlying storylines that are coming out throughout this playoffs with the Celtics, with the Nets, with Portland and everything they've been doing. Oh my goodness! if you haven't been paying attention to the Portland Trail Blazers, in fact, you cannot tell me, you cannot honestly say you're a basketball fan and you're not glued to watching the Portland Trail Blazers play ball. Though they've been knocked out, watching Dame Dollar do his thing has been just a spectacle to see. I love seeing it. But with that, besides all the games and everything that's been going on, one of the things I noticed, and I wanted to call out, I've been paying attention to the coaches and everything they've been doing. And my top 3 favorite coaches that have really bubbled up to the top for me this year are going to be out of Phoenix. And what that coach is doing, his name eludes me. Monty Williams. I'm sorry, Monty Williams. And he's one of my favorite coaches, and coming up through the league of pop down in San Antonio and bringing that team to new heights. We also got Nate McMillan, what he's doing with the Atlanta Hawks. And of course, I like what the Utah Jazz are doing as well. So I think these coaches are really taking this league to a new level with the young talent. And I see a change in that in terms of how coaches are reviewing and evaluating talent and being a leader of men as they help develop these young stars. In fact, Nate McMillan, I love his candor. If you saw just before, was it game 1 or game 2, he spoke out that the league really wants New York to win. And I know my guest has been paying attention to this quite a bit, and we'll get into it, but I love his candor, and I think it's very honest that New York being in the playoffs is good for the NBA. It's great for the NBA. I mean, that's like the mecca, the same way that you see any other industry driving in a particular market. Silicon Valley with the tech industry, you have media and entertainment, New York and LA, and with the NBA, seeing the Knicks back in it at Madison Square Garden, I think was great to see. But they fined him for it. $25,000. Not sure why, but I think it's an honest statement, and it's okay to admit that, yeah, it's great for our league and great for the team. Now, there's some underlying implication around bias with officials and things of that nature. I get it, but I don't think that's the case, but yet they still did their job, and they did very well. We also talked quite a bit about like the business side and what's been going on leading up to the playoffs. And anybody's been watching my show or listening to the show knows that I really like to dive into how the money flows throughout the league, how revenue is made, how the endorsements and the deals are done, how this impacts which players land in which markets. All of that plays a major role into how these teams are structured and what we as fans are seeing day in and day out as we watch these games. But on the cusp of the country opening up, the playoffs, coming into this new playoff format and getting into heading into the finals over the next few weeks, one of the biggest industries I think that is contributing to the NBA is betting. I always talk about digital trades and cryptocurrency, but betting I think is going to be the catalyst for taking the league to new heights. And in fact, if you haven't been paying attention, really big news over the past 3 to 4 weeks, the NBA did a deal with the MGM, BetMGM and Turner Sports, in which they are now, for the first time in their history, they have a betting show on NBA TV to break down bets in the league. I've already talked about a number of teams around the league that are welcoming in-game betting, which is going to drive fan engagement, fan excitement. The more you bet, the more you watch. So that's been a big deal. And they even saw the lines explode going into the NBA season. Now, I think it's a culmination of COVID, of people being excited about sports and things of that nature, absolutely. But if you paid attention to the lines, the Nets, my team, if there's any question, I think the Nets are poised to win it all. But the Nets are number one by far, have the most bets placed across sportsbook. And this is reported by William Hill, Caesars, MGM, etc. And they're seeing bets 100K plus being placed on the Nets at a payout of, I think the line is 220. At least it was earlier in the week. The Lakers were number two. Sorry to say, a lot of Laker fans, which I am, representing LeBron from Akron, Ohio, but damn, those bets are lost. But they came in at number two in terms of betting volume for the playoffs. DraftKings also announced that they saw that nearly 50% of all the bets were placed on the NBA were going towards the Nets. And then Warriors were in the early days in the play-in tournament, we're also seen as a horse to ride into winning for the championship. Not going to happen. Another one that I've been paying attention to is the Suns, and their line is at about plus 2,000. So I think there's a slight chance you might see them in the finals, but I think it's a stretch. But nonetheless, you're still in the game as compared to going with the Lakers. But we've got a lot of excitement around this tournament. I really want to get into what's going on around the league and what we can look forward to going into the next season, because I think the league is going to transform significantly going into next year. And I want to break down why I think that's going to happen. In the NBA this season, and specifically, we're in the playoffs, about to step into round two. So it's a lot of exciting things happening that I think will shed some light on who we think will win it all, as well as what can we expect next year when we get into the 2021-22 season as well. You ever heard of NBA Buzz on Facebook? 2.3 million followers. Official NBA Buzz on Instagram, 212,000 followers. He has a podcast that he does on YouTube, nearly 1 million views for his shows. Also has another show called The Truth on ESPN, as an ESPN podcast with Jermaine Barnes. He has been spitting game about giving you the latest and greatest news going on in the NBA in real time, on the court, stats, quotes, etc. This is Mikey Domagala. So with that said, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for jumping on with me.
What's up, Brandon? It's always great meeting you, and I love what you're doing with the rubric, and I'm excited to talk the business part about basketball with you, especially some of those topics you brought up about betting, because I got a bunch of friends who are way into that stuff, and I'm always around it. And another leg to the NBA, bringing in more popularity is always a good thing. So very excited.
Man, absolutely, man. So before we jump into the NBA, before we jump into the actual games itself, man, I want people to know your story, because one of the things that I get, people ask me, just so that you know, people ask me, what's the rubric? What is it about? The rubric is, think of it as a lexicon, a playbook, a rule book for all the different levers that you can pull at any given time to garner success. And success can be whatever you define. What does it take for a given NBA team to win a championship? They can do a bunch of things that may be different from team to team. And so what I want to talk about are the things to evaluate success. And you have embodied that as you have started your platform, primarily Inside Buzz, to hit those numbers. So as I know, started what, 2012?
2012, yep, on Facebook, NBA Buzz.
All right, NBA Buzz on Facebook. Can you tell me what got you started doing this, and how the hell did you grow from 2012 to nearly 2 to 3 million followers across all of your social media platforms today?
Yeah, so basically in 2012, I was only 12 years old. So I started watching Knicks basketball probably when I was like 9. Then I fell in love. You know, the Knicks weren't really anything back then. Then I fell in love with Kobe and watched his championship runs and really got into it. Then Carmelo Anthony came to New York. So that really, you know, really got me into basketball and really watching every night. So I was on Facebook with friends and family, I guess, debating sports, basketball, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I started seeing pages on Facebook, the really early days of social media, way early days.
Okay.
And there were a couple basketball pages, and I guess I liked what they were doing, and I wanted to jump on with them, but they wouldn't let me on because I was only 12. I had a bunch of different things I wanted to see these pages improve on, things I wanted to bring some expertise to the page, but they wouldn't let me on. So I decided to do it myself, and I started NBA Buzz in January of 2012 when I was 12. And yeah, Brandon, I don't want to tell you you're messing up your research, but NBA Buzz on Facebook has 2.8 million followers, 2.3 million likes. So I did just recently eclipse the 3 million mark altogether.
Okay.
It's a little weird with Facebook. It's followers, likes, but yeah, that's how it all began.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So now then you transitioned over to providing a lot of content on official NBA Buzz, which is your Instagram as well, right? And that's where you
Yep.
deliver a lot of your in-game details and postings and things of that nature, right?
Yeah, well, everything's pretty much the same across all the platforms, Twitter included with Instagram as well. Instagram, I wish I started way earlier. I kind of got into it a little late, even me personally getting on Instagram, like as a personal page. So I
Yeah.
wasn't always in the loop with Instagram until maybe 2016-ish. And then at that point, I'm like, it's going to be time consuming putting in the Facebook stuff, the Instagram. Now it's just second nature. I go from one platform to the other. I should have started way earlier so I could have had another couple million on Instagram, but it is what it is. Can't
All
turn
right.
back the clock.
No doubt, man. Hindsight is 2020, but you're doing your thing today. So you're not just a social media guy. You don yourself as a journalist as well,
Yep.
and you're also a host on a couple of shows. In your early days, because 2012 to today, it's been a hell of a journey. What has been your most impactful interview or person that you've spoken to that really took both you and your NBA Buzz platform to the next level?
Great question. I would say personally as a journalist was when I was 16 years old. Was Jamani Monty Love Swanson, who's a 4'5" little person, professional street baller, who's now in the Harlem Globetrotters. So that was pretty much my big first interview. I wanted to come in with a bang. I had the NBA Buzz connection behind me at that point, and it was for my high school newspaper. And my teacher, Mr. Malassi, who I got to give credit to, challenged me to use NBA Buzz to get somebody, with some status behind them. And that was Monty Love. He lived and still lives in Harlem, New York. I'm a Long Island kid. So me and my dad went up to Harlem one day, interviewed him. I played him one-on-one, and I wrote like a 10-page article on him for the school newspaper. So that was my biggest one for really writing a long-term article, as well as interviewing somebody and going to interview them, not just over the phone or, 2020's made it so easy to just do it on
Right.
Zoom. So
No
really,
doubt, no doubt.
I mean, back then, really just going to this person and interviewing them straight as a 16-year-old kid. So that was the biggest one then. Most recently, talking Inside Buzz and the Truth Podcast. Ooh, Sean Kemp was a great one. Nancy Lieberman, the Hall of Famer. And LeVar Ball, man, that was...
And that's the one I want to hear. Like, I want to know.
Too.
Because at the time, that's 2020. That was 2020 when you did that interview with LeVar Ball. And was LaMelo Ball on there as well, or was it just LeVar?
No, just LeVar. I wish I could have got LaMelo, but at this time, so obviously Lonzo's Pelicans and LaMelo just got drafted, so we had a lot of fresh content to talk to him about with that. Also, LiAngelo just signed that 10-day contract with the Pistons. Okay. So that was a hot topic then. So we got him at a good time. And I got to tell you, Brandon, coolest guy ever. Not exactly what you see in person. He's crazy and he's a lunatic, even talking to you. But he's a little more laid back and calm, not like you would see him on, TV. A little arrogant on TV. I didn't get any sense of that at all.
Okay, gotcha. Now, what has been like the most exciting or unexpected follows that you've had? Like talk about some of the followers that you've had, because I know we talked about all the NBA players because you're posting content in real time, like during the games. And these guys are sometimes responding to you directly. Can you talk about some of the more exciting interactions you've had with some of those guys?
Oh, I've had interactions with a lot of guys. Big interactions, I'll say first, like Damian Lillard, Draymond Green, like once a week. All I got to do is tag that guy and he's always responding. But follower-wise, I got Mark Cuban on NBA Buzz Instagram for the last probably year. Yep. Giannis Antetokounmpo, big fan of NBA Buzz, and I know
what happened?
He followed NBA Buzz for a couple hours, and then, I kind of gave him a little shout, and I guess that scared him off. He didn't want people to know. So he unfollowed. Tim Hardaway Jr., same thing. I had Lou Williams threatening my life in a DM once, and man, it's all funny stuff.
Yeah, because if I recall correctly, you actually had a post. I vaguely remember this question because it ended up on, I think it was ESPN or one of the other sports shows. You asked the question, which is a very interesting question. Which is more valuable, KD's 2 rings or Dirk Nowitzki's 1 ring? And
yeah, I've had so many interactions. Kevin Durant too. He's another one always in the not always in the comments, but a couple times a year. And yeah, Brandon, that one, he said some kind of, cute comment, they'll call it, and it got some TV time because it was so snarky to the situation. And that was awesome. They credited NBA Buzz and everything, and it's just all good stuff. It makes me smile when I see that.
Man, that's awesome. And I think the more important thing is, very similar type of journeys that we've had, but I think we weren't traditional sports guys by career. You started much, much earlier than I did. And I really admire that, hey, you were able to start reaching out and doing these things, because I assume you tried to get jobs with some of these teams, try to get on some of their shows and things of that nature. Can you talk a little bit about how you handled the rejection and fought through, hey, this kid's too young, he doesn't know his stuff, he's not the type of material we're looking for, he's not ESPN quality, etc. Can you talk a little bit about how you got through that and still got your company where it is today?
Yeah, so back then when I was young, in like the 12 to 16 range, I wasn't really thinking jobs yet. I didn't have any interview shows yet. So probably 16 on, there was some rejection, I guess, trying to get people to interview, especially for print media, because I didn't really have a podcast yet, and Zoom wasn't the whole big thing yet, and that stuff. But even on Inside Buzz, and even with the Truth Podcast, you still got to reach out to people, and you'll still get the no's, and you'll reach out to teams, and they'll say, okay, you can interview this guy, but you can't talk about this, this, and this. And it's like, all right, then what the hell is the point of interviewing them? So, it's you gotta get around those things. And the rejection isn't as much as it was in the beginning of Inside Buzz, especially when I was just starting, because, I really didn't have too much to show for it just yet. But I would have these people on. I remember Costa Koufos, former NBA center, was one. I'll get to the examples. Who's another one? What was his name? He's on the Reggie Miller Pacers. Antonio Davis? Yeah. Antonio Davis from the 90s was on my show, as well as, who was the third one who gave me that funny comment? I think it was Dana Barros from the Celtics from the 90s, former Most Improved winner. So those 3 guys I specifically remember at the end of the interview, they're like, wow, man, that was great. I'm not going to lie. When I first came on, I thought you were like 16, 17 years old, because I do look young. They're like, I didn't know how it was going to go. I don't know if you're going to ask me all the big questions, the obvious questions. I just didn't think it was going to be that good of an interview, but I was blown away. I'm like, oh, all right. I'll pat myself on the back to that one. And it's cool to hear that from notable people, that I'm doing a good thing, good job. And I'm not just asking the questions every other interview would ask. So I like to dig in and really, go beneath them into their careers to find out, I don't know, something that people don't know, and ask them about it.
Yeah, that's dope, because I think we see that all the time. You see the irritation that arises with a lot of these athletes when they're asked these really boring, on the surface questions, or invasive questions that have nothing to do with promoting, some of their the thoughts that they have around a given topic. And you see the side effects that like Osaka and what she's going through by being pressured by the media and just tough wall of questioning that arises. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I guess bringing the business part back into it, it's not like these teams really care too much about the business coming from interviews, but every post-game interview, right here, I'll think of a good example right now. Post-game interview, say, I heard you mentioning the Blazers before. Say the Blazers get a regular season win against, I don't know, the Mavericks in the regular season, 10-point win. Lillard only scores 25. Boring, standard night.
He only made 6 threes.
yeah, regular night from Lillard, not his 12 3-point masterpiece the other night, right? If I was in that room, what are you gonna ask us? Oh, Damian, how'd you shoot? Average, whatever, blah blah blah. I'd ask him, Dame, after a night like this, what are your thoughts going into the next game? What are you going home on the team bus, and what are you listening to really get you focused into the next game or to get you hyped up for the next series? Today you seemed maybe a little bored on the court, like you didn't fully want to be there. Like, what can you do? Like, what did you do last night? Did you get a bad dinner? You having any problem? I would want to ask questions into the more personal side of things rather than go, oh, Dame, 6 of 15 tonight from 3. How can you improve? It's like, I would want to dig in and dive deeper into these athletes when you're accessible to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives them a platform to tell their story. Things that they care about, because a lot of times we want them to tell a specific story, but it doesn't always align. And so that's what I try to talk about as well, is getting into a lot of that business side stuff.
And even with betting coming about, ask them if they're into betting. Who knows? You can ask them about anything. Hey, Dame, what did you think of the -1,000 line on you or something? Who knows?
Man, you're exactly right, man. We talked a little bit about how your platform got stood up, and I'm really inspired by what you're doing there. I want to get into kind of what you're seeing in the NBA, because you spend what, 8 to 10 hours of your day curating content, processing content, engaging with your fans, etc. Would you say that's about right? Or, what do your days look like as you're engaging with your fans?
So on a Saturday, Sunday, say NBA playoff weekend where it's like games from 1 o'clock all the way up to 10:30. Yeah, I would say, an 8 to 10 is good if I'm fully engaged and watching, because then I have all the time in the world to post if I got nothing going on that day. Other than that, yeah, it could be as little as 2 hours to as little as 12 hours, as much as 12 hours, depending on the content for the day. I still have a life, so it depends on what I'm doing through the day and stuff. So I make it all work. I've been doing it since middle school, high school, college, and here I am graduating college and still doing it.
So what I want to know, now as we get into like the game itself, bro, how the hell does somebody from New York, how is at your time, at the time, let's say 2012, 2013, your favorite players are LeBron and Kobe. Today, anybody that's a Kobe fan, you can't say anything bad about it. But at the time, you're in the heart of New York. Like, those are your guys. You don't like, who's your New York guys?
Well, always Carmelo Anthony.
Okay.
I loved Patrick Ewing, even though he came after me. And I loved everybody on that 2012-13 Knicks team, like J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert back then. That team was phenomenal. Tyson Chandler was one of my favorites back then. But then, Brandon, after that, we went into a big lull of just nothing, just straight up nothing going on in New York. But back then, before Melo, there was still really nothing in New York. And me just dabbling into the NBA as a little kid, watching SportsCenter every night. Who did I see? LeBron and Kobe, Kobe dropping 50 here and there, LeBron triple doubles. That was chase down block, triple double every night, LeBron in Cleveland. So that was good times. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into those two, just SportsCenter every night.
All right. Yeah, makes sense. Given who was there at that time, I believe a sleeper that New York had, in that 2012, 2013 timeframe was Porzingis. I think of all the things Phil Jackson did before he left, I think getting him into the league was pivotal. For them at the time.
Yeah,
Now,
that was exciting for a minute, and then that came to an end.
so today we're in 2021. This new playoff model. I'm gonna go east, then we'll go west. In the East, who do you think is going to come out of the East team-wise, and who you think is going to put their stamp on the East as an individual player the remainder of these playoffs in that conference?
Yeah, see, me being a Knicks fan, I am going to root for them, but I want to say the Bucks are going to beat the Nets, but the Bucks just don't have enough firepower. The Nets could score freaking 12 points like it's nothing in about a 2-minute span. If Joe Harris hits a couple, KD hits a couple, Harden hits a couple. Oh yeah, then there's that guy Kyrie could hit a couple. You know what I mean? It's crazy over there. So I got Nets going through Milwaukee in a tough 6 or 7 game series, and then I see the Nets coming out on top of the East, my guy.
You say Nets in 6 or 7?
In 6 or 7, yep.
All right, I think it's going to be. I think it'll be 5. I think it'll be 5 for the Nets.
Ooh.
Offense.
See, I think it won't. See, I think it won't be 5 because of the defense, because you got Giannis in that paint. And speaking of betting, last week, me and my friends put a bet on the Nets against the Celtics. They were down like 10 late in the third.
Okay.
We're like, they're going to come back from this. Steve Nash doesn't put in Nicholas Claxton at all to rim protect. Jason Tatum winds up going for 50, and he just destroys our bet. So that's the only problem I see with Nash. He likes to go small ball, and you play small ball against Giannis, he's going to eat you up down there. So he's got to get some better defensive sets.
But check this out. In the playoffs, I agree with you in the regular season. In the playoffs, Giannis typically hasn't produced as efficiently as he has in the regular season.
Yeah.
They are definitely much more physical. Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan can play a bit tougher. But in this new NBA, offense wins. I mean, what? Okay, Giannis scores 2 points. Here comes Durant for 3. Here comes James Harden for 3. Here comes Kyrie for 3. Oh, yeah, we'll throw it up and lob it to Blake, and then he'll kick it back out for another 3. So it's like, I don't think they have enough weapons to keep up with the firepower. Like, that's the one thing. Yeah. Didn't we see that in the Utah game? Like,
sure.
John Morant was they were doing well, but every 2 points they were scoring.
Exactly.
With 3. Memphis Grizzlies when they were had that game. So I'm like, I
feel you with that. The Bucks just don't have enough dogs on offense. You know what I mean? Like where the Nets 1 through 10, so to speak, even on their bench could provide big numbers. So I agree with you. It's going to be a good series. Maybe Drew Holiday will take Kyrie out of the game. Who knows? But Middleton definitely has to step up. No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least 25 a series to really get them, in reach and going back and forth with this 3-point barrage.
Now, do you expect anything out of other sleeper I have is Atlanta? What do you think about that next series? Atlanta and
hate
Sixers.
Those guys, man. Hate those guys. But listen, they're gonna get beat. They're gonna get beat because they had about 4 straight games against my Knicks where they wouldn't miss a damn 3. And we saw it in the past with Harden's Rockets when they were that huge 3-point team against the Warriors. They were about to beat them, and then their threes just were not falling. They really died by the 3, and I could see that happening to Atlanta. It'll be a good series, but I mean, they had a nice series against the Knicks. I can't say anything wrong. And Trey killed them. Bogdanovich is now a savage in the NBA, and he's gaining respect. So you got to give him credit.
He's a killer. That was actually a surprising discovery. I didn't realize what's his name and with the Nets. Ryan Thomas, is that his name? Right. He's the number 1 3-point shooter percentage-wise in the NBA on the Nets.
Joe Harris?
Joe, I'm sorry. Yes. Joe Harris. I'm like, what? How is this the case on the same squad?
He's extremely underrated.
Yeah.
Extremely.
Extremely. Yeah.
All right, now they locked him up for like 70 million or something.
That's right. Bunch of dough. Now I see why.
And I thought that was a lot. And I thought that was a lot.
Now I get it. All right, West. Coming out West. Lakers are out. So all these bettors who were betting on LeBron to go for another chip, that's done. So who do you have now in the West? Who's your top teams?
First, I want to make it known I called that Lakers loss. I mean, yes, Anthony Davis was banged up. Even before it, I said Suns are gonna beat them. They're just not the same. Mm-hmm. Their surrounding players, Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, just aren't motivated anymore. So I figured that was gonna happen. Then AD went down and it was kind of inevitable. But I see Phoenix versus Jazz Western Conference Finals going 7. That'll be phenomenal. That'll be a phenomenal series. And I see Phoenix coming out on top. Devin Booker is going to turn on this legendary Kobe mentality mode like he did last night in Game 6 against the Lakers and just torch. He's motivated. He's got Chris Paul there with him doing the dirty work, and they got good surrounding players. You got to give them credit.
Do you have that same opinion? If CP3 is hurt?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
And that's why I don't have Phoenix going all the way because I mean, we saw him like pulling for that shoulder at least 3 different games this one series. It's only going to get tougher because you know what? Utah, they're
I like Utah a lot. And a great matchup would be DeAndre Ayton, who's coming into his own against Rudy Gobert. I mean, obviously it'll be Mitchell Booker. Everybody knows that. But I like that center matchup. Utah, I like a lot too, man. They got a lot of weapons. A lot. Last year they had a lot of weapons. Now we got Jordan Clarkson and Joe Ingles, 2 out of the 3 Six-Man of the Year finalists. So
That's right.
They got a lot of weapons.
And Donovan Mitchell, he's an assassin. He's
no
an
doubt.
assassin.
Especially what he did last year against Murray.
Yeah,
that was special. Yeah,
that's right. And that was one reason I didn't have Denver going very far in the finals because Murray got hurt because he was so impactful to the team. And I'm not sure they could hold their own and go really, really deep.
I agree with you. And, we saw the Blazers, who to me are, even right now without Murray, a little worse than Denver. And they were kind of right in those games neck and neck because Damian Lillard's obviously a killer. But, the Jazz, the Nuggets just aren't deep enough right now. That's just my opinion. And a lot of it's because of Murray, so you got to feel bad for him.
Yep. I tend to lean towards teams that have deep shooters who can are very dynamic, can shoot off the dribble, can shoot off the catch, can that move a lot, that really lean on that, and big men that can stretch the floor. That's who I'm picking whenever I see if I had to pick between teams. Like I'm looking at those metrics for
and that looks like Phoenix and Utah.
Ooh, that's gonna be a big one.
And I mean the other series, Clippers Dallas. Clippers are just run out of steam, man. Luka hates the Clippers. You could just see it. He wants to stick it to them so bad. And I got to tell you, Brandon, they're just not deep enough either, just yet. The Mavericks, if they move on.
Right, I agree. They're not deep enough, but I think they will definitely get past the Clippers. Yeah. And I think what's showing is Kawhi not being like the centerpiece for a team that will take them to the championship. He's not it. He's not the LeBron or the KD that is going to just take your team over the edge. Like he does very well on his own. He'll put up buckets, but man, they can't get the job done. And they traded their heart away, starting with CP3. And when they kept Blake and they kept DeAndre Jordan, got rid of CP3. I don't think they can do it.
You know what I see? I see a little ego issue with the Clippers. Really? I see a little Paul George kind of not gelling good enough with Kawhi as he should. I see Rondo getting pissed off at all of them for playing lazy. I see you got to hold Tyronn Lue accountable. He's
Yep.
not playing Luke Kennard. They paid Luke Kennard a lot of money.
A lot of dough. Yes.
He's a good shooter off the bench, and he's not getting any minutes, not getting any touches. So why not try to unleash him off the bench where he could at least average 10?
That's right.
At least.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
I don't see any change of game plan, and I don't see any change of winning with them this postseason.
Yeah, I think that's one of the teams you're going to see a significant overhaul next season. Ballmer's not going for it. Like, he invested a lot of money in this team since getting Doc Rivers, had that experiment with that big three. Basically got an entirely new squad and still can't get past the first round. Yeah, they're going to see quite a bit of shakeup for them in the next year.
Portland as well.
Oh, man, I love Damian Lillard, and I love his model. To me, he is the Marshawn Lynch of the NBA. He is the one that's like, hey, I'm not going to actively recruit and try to force you guys to come play with me. You're a grown man. Pick where you want to play. I'm going to do my thing here. I'm not leaving. I think it was a blow when LaMarcus Aldridge left and he went to the Spurs. And he's like, he just hasn't had any help. He doesn't have a deep, a third threat on the team. McCollum, I think he's pretty nice. I think he had some hiccups in this series, but overall, I think he's pretty nice. But they don't have another threat on that team that will just put up buckets.
I like CJ too. I just feel like CJ, like you said, he's nice. I agree. He's not nice enough in the big moments. You know what I mean? Early on, you remember the first couple weeks of this season, McCollum was averaging like 33 through like the first 25 games, and he got injured.
Yeah, that's right.
He just can't do it. Just can't do it in the postseason. I don't know what it is. He talks a big game on Twitter, so he's gotta live up to it. But he can't. Right?
Man, I'm with you.
And then at the center position, I like Nurkic. It's just he's not a defender, and his Canner is not a defender. They need a lockdown in the paint because they're always going to be matching up with Jokic and the Nuggets now. So who's going to stop Jokic? Jokic eats up Nurkic. So
and he doesn't. And his defense even gets worse the farther out he goes.
Exactly.
And the Joker can sit out there and bang threes with the best of them. So he's like, I'm good. It's a reason that he was an MVP this year. But yeah, we're just breaking down the NBA, and man, I'm always going through all of these teams. I do have to give a shout out. We were talking about the Portland Trail Blazers. I cannot forget one of my guys. Yes, Carmelo Anthony.
My guy as well. Man,
and you didn't mention him as well, so we both missed him. But I think he didn't have enough firepower for the series as he's had in his career. I do agree. I do believe he is absolutely still legit. I think he's critical to that team. And actually, I think he does a lot more for that team beyond just what you see on the court. And all of those players have said, contrary to everything about him being able to get a job after he went, he was just a free agent for a year and a half, 2 years almost. They've all said one of the best teammates that they had, very similar to the narrative that the Washington Wizards gave Russell Westbrook when everybody tried to say he really wasn't shit anymore as well. So yes, I think he's definitely critical to the team, but they still need more firepower for sure.
Exactly. Absolutely. I mean, listen, I love Melo as much as anybody does. 37-year-old Melo can't be your third option to really go deep into the playoffs. Like, listen.
That's right.
That's right. He averaged 13, 14 this year, which is phenomenal for his age and stuff. Plenty of 20 to 30-point games in that range. Again, it's just Melo will always be Melo, where he'll be inefficient. He'll shoot 40 to 45%. He'll hit big buckets, but it's just he's not that guy anymore where he'll just lead you deep into this playoff run. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At the end of the day, they need another 25-plus scorer.
Exactly.
Consistently every night.
Yes.
To come out and come win.
Phenomenal bench piece in Melo. Giving you 13, 14 a night. It's just not it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So another thing that I always talk about, I know we just got a little bit of time left. I'm always talking about like the up and coming stars in the league and like what's happening as they transition. And one of the things I've been following, I want to get your take on, is a lot of the high school and college players and that young talent coming into the NBA. And one of the things I think you actually talked about it on your platform is around Overtime Elite. And Overtime Elite, I'm sure you're aware, is the startup league that pays high school players as an alternative to going to the NCAA. And they've seen an influx of blue chippers coming out of high school that they're starting to sign $100,000, $300,000, $500,000 deals. And so what do you think this means for the NBA? And like, what do you expect to see here over the next 1 to 2 years in relation to a lot of the young talent that's coming out?
Yeah, so I posted about this stuff, and then I kind of hopped on the post with my personal to kind of, I guess, tell the truth about it. I see a lot of cream rising, and I see a lot of heartbreak as well with these kids, because again, I see a lot of them doing extremely well, making a name for themselves, making highlight reels and as like a 17-year-old pro, and really evolving and developing nice and eventually getting to the NBA.
Yep.
I also see a bunch of kids who are kind of on the cusp of that, making $100,000 from that league at 18 years old and just not making it. And it kind of really always trying to scratch and claw up to get there, and not, because this field is going to become so saturated. I'm just looking at this with a real business outlook to it. If some of these kids don't invest well and really kind of stay on their game, they might screw themselves, because we saw grown men in this NBA, Brandon, Allen Iverson. I mean,
Antoine Walker
blow so much money, way more than these kids will be making, and they're grown men. So these kids don't have the right backing around them and stuff like that. Some of them will get hurt, I see, that way, and might find themselves working a regular job and really feeling bad about themselves. Then there's going to be other superstars who are going to come out of it. So I hope the latter is what it will be, more superstars than kids really being down and out. But I don't know, something about me, it just rubs me the wrong way. And I worry about some of these young kids.
I do worry about it. And I also believe exactly what you said is going to happen. You're going to have some who make it, some who don't. I also believe that's okay. I mean, that is the American dream.
No doubt about
it. Like that's the American dream. Like the same reason you started your platform 12 years old, you're coming into a space that traditionally people would say, you're not qualified, you shouldn't be here, you have to go do 4, 8, 10, 12 years of college and get this certification and do it. These guys have an opportunity to make money if they can. I'm like all for it. One place, college, isn't going anywhere. But the 10 years to play at an elite level as an athlete comes and goes very quickly. And if these guys can do it, that's all great. So I'm definitely
no doubt. And I know some of these kids might, be from rough neighborhoods and undesirable locations where they need to get their family out and they really need this money badly. Totally respect it. I'm just worried about the people around them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get it.
You need this money to last. One tear out of your ACL will bring your name back behind 100 of these new kids coming the next year. So
that's right.
I understand. I see both sides of it completely. It's just.
But none of that means that the same thing could happen in the NCAA as well. And
that is true. That's true.
You saw, and I saw Coach K stepping down, for his family and all of this stuff. I have no doubt in my mind that it's also the trend that's changing in NCAA. That elite talent is, I don't have to go to Duke. I don't have to go work. Yeah. I mean, because that's a job. Let's be crystal clear. That's a job you don't get paid for to go do engineering or political science or economics at Duke, or go to be a lawyer and try to play ball. Like, that is a lot of work. So I think, what you're seeing from these high schoolers, I think, is them taking advantage of that. And I think, that's the same thing that any other non-athlete has an opportunity to do.
Yeah, good point. And I'm sounding like a Debbie Downer. I know. But yeah, I see all sides of it. And that was a good point. College will always be there if you need it.
Absolutely. So I'm always telling people to stay on the lookout. There's a kid coming out of Akron, Ohio, Chris Livingston, who is doing his thing. I think he's a sophomore or junior. He's not a senior yet, but is one of the top guards coming out in a couple of years. You're already seeing, I think the top 2 juniors went to overtime elite. Matt Bewley and Ryan Bewley, there's 2 brothers.
Cool.
They actually picked up Kevin Ollie. NCAA coach, was with UConn, worked quite a bit with Kevin Durant. They picked him up into that league to mentor and coach and help these kids. So I see them really shifting that model, as well as the G League doing a lot of the same stuff as well. So
yeah, oh man, we're gonna get so much this brand new influx of talent from there over the next couple of years. We already got these young kids in the NBA like Luka, Trey, Zion, Ja.
Yeah.
We're gonna get
LiAngelo. He went to play. What did he play? Was it Lithuania or?
Yeah, they were all Lithuania. Yep.
Yeah, Lithuania, and their pops took them out of going to college and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, you got to give credit to LeVar for really thinking this. He wanted to make his big baller league. Yeah. That I think got off the ground, and then I think it wasn't working. That's so. Right. LeVar was the visionary. Gotta give him.
Absolutely. And if you cannot say he's a bad pops. Like, he roots for his kids and create an environment to like promote them. Bro, hat tip. You know, silly comments, of course, but who cares, man? He's doing his thing. But I know we're running out of time. Want to thank you for coming on the show, man. Again, real quick, we got about a minute and a half. Let everybody know where they can find you and how they can follow you.
Yeah, Brandon, thanks for having me, and thanks for giving me the platform. Guys, you can follow me on Instagram, me specifically at Mikey Domagala, Domagala. Follow everything that Brandon mentioned before, NBA Buzz on Facebook, at Official NBA Buzz on Instagram and Twitter, NBA Buzz on TikTok, and then check out Inside Buzz with Mikey Domagala. I have the banner behind me, the t-shirt I'm wearing. That could be found on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course, with my guy Jermaine Barnes, ESPN's The Truth Podcast. Find that on all podcast platforms as well.
Absolutely, man. Man, I thank you so much for being on the show, man. We'll be talking a lot more. I want to have you on. I want to come join and be a guest in things that you're talking about as well. So, man, we'll be collaborating all the time, man.